I was in the Merchant Navy about 6 years. My second voyage, I was still only an ordinary seaman. The mate was the ship's doctor, and he did anything, including major operations that needed to be done. He needed an assistant, give out pills and that and what have you. So I put my hand up, and we were about a third of the way across the Pacific, and we had an appendicitis. Now, I don't want to put the mate down, but he was as bad as I am. Whiskey was the main problem. But when he did the operation, he was absolutely beautiful. And I helped him with all the instruments and what have you. And I had to spend nearly 24 hours learning what was which. We got through that okay, but the mate asked me to come back for another trip because he wanted me to help him. And again, in the bloody Pacific, we had an appendicitis, and he didn't do it. I did it. I got through that all right. Then, in the middle of the Pacific again, we had a hurricane. It was a force 4, and it was hell. The skipper came out of his cabin, fell down the companionway. He smashed his thigh, broke the bone there, was it the femur or whatever it is? He was going to die. He was bleeding all over the bloody place from here. The mate had to take the ship, which the skipper couldn't. So I ended up looking after the skipper. I was never so scared in my life. I really was. Because to stop the bleeding, I had to go into the crutch. I had no idea what I was doing. We had a Yankee cruiser come down and stand by us. And it was 3 days before we got the doctor. The hurricane stopped us doing anything, and during that time I had to stop the bleeding, feed him blood from 4 other crew members, direct transfusion. Again, how the hell do you do it? We had a couple of books, but they weren't much good. Eventually, after 3 days, we got a doctor on board. He stayed with us for a day, and then he took us all back to the cruiser. He took me back because he said he wanted to know exactly what I'd done. I found out afterwards he was so scared at the state I was in that he put me to bed and cleaned me up. I swore after that I'd never ever do anything medical again, and I never did, no matter how they tried to get me to.